Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked that question because you were raised in America.
Yeah.
And like our culture is very secular,
Mm.
right? And like in this culture,
Yeah.
somebody wanting to pursue a spiritual path is unique,
Yeah.
and it's very rare that that happens.
Sure.
And in our like sect, you had to go to school for 7 years after high school. So what was that like to get formal training
So
in
first
how to
you
be an
gotta get
imam?
in. You have to actually be able to
Right.
get in. So luckily they had just opened one in Canada just 3 years prior to me
Mm.
applying. And because it was new, I was able to, have the interview and so on and so forth and get in. And then, like you said, it's 7 years. And that's 7 years of, if you pass that final, it's called a Shahid exam, kind of like the bar exam.
Mm.
It's every single subject, there's 13 of them, of every single subject, every single year for 7 years is in that one comprehensive exam.
Oh, wow.
What are the
So-
different subjects? I'm curious.
So, for example, history of Islam or history in general, comparative study of religions. You have Arabic, you have Urdu, and then you have jurisprudence and a whole host of other topics as well. But there's like 12 or 13. And memorization is another one. Hadith, which are the sayings of the Holy Prophet, is another one.
So
Yeah, so we had to go through all that, memorize, and so on and so forth. But I think our favorite subject was comparative study of religion. So we study the Bible in depth. Like, I have a Bible of my own, and I can flip through it. I enjoy reading it myself, especially when I have interact with a Christian. I can show them the journey of Islam from the Bible, like why I believe what I believe from the Bible alone. I don't need a Quran. I don't need anything else. Everything is there, because that's actually what the Holy Quran says, that there's guidance and light in the Bible. You just got to find it. You just got to have the eyes, the spiritual eyes to see it.
I'm so happy we have you because in a
Yeah.
previous podcast we had a Christian on,
Okay.
and I might have said something inaccurate because I went home afterwards and I researched it more. We had a guest on, and we were talking about the accuracy of the Bible. Tell me if I'm wrong. I
Okay.
told him that we believe Bible to be the Word of God. Like,
Okay.
we believe it's an authentic book, but somehow down the line,
Mm-hmm.
the Bible got corrupted.
Okay.
Now, is that accurate to say or not?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
That's what we believe. Again,
Okay.
a Christian may not agree with you,
Right.
but the way we give them a response is that every aspect of the Bible, and when you say Bible, actually, the Holy Quran kind of categorizes it. There's 3 portions of today's Bible that we believe is authentic from God. One is the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Then there's Injil, which is the Gospels. That's the first 4 books of the New Testament. And then you have Zabur, which is Psalms, which is a particular portion. But to your point, we believe that when it was revealed or when it was inspired or when people heard about it, when Moses spoke, for example, that was from God. But it was never safeguarded the way a Holy Quran, for example, was promised to be safeguarded. So yes, there was a corruption over time, just human beings, so on and so forth. And to give you one example of that, obviously there's inaccuracies found in the Bible of just narrations. It'll say there's 6 horses in the next story. It'll say no, there's 5, so on and so forth. There's other inaccuracies between the Gospels, for example, Jesus' story. In some, there's 100 pounds of medicine they're taking. In other, there isn't. Or in 2 books, it doesn't even mention that he went to heaven. So there are differences. There are discrepancies, so to speak. And then the third part of it is that there are some authors of the Bible. Because remember, for example, the book of Hebrews or the book of John. It says it's the book of God. It doesn't say the book of God, right? It says the book of John, book of Hebrews. Some of those authors are unknown. Nobody knows who they are. Even till this day, they don't know who they are. So for them to say that these are authentic from God and they've lasted the test of time is a big claim to make. But there are translations, countless translations of the Bible. So our belief, like you said, is that the Bible was originally from God, and there is light and guidance in it, but it has been corrupted over time through people and their interpolation of it. And
So
if he was offended by it, it makes sense. That's fine. That's his stance. But
Right. No, I just wanted to make sure because, like, when people say that a book was somehow, there's some inaccuracies, we're not saying that, by default the Bible is wrong.
No,
the Bible
not
has
at
some
all.
of the most beautiful teachings that
absolutely.
we agree upon,
absolutely,
right?
100%.
In its
Yeah,
purest
yeah.
form, it was
Yep.
the Word of God.
Yep.
But also, and my other question to you is, was the Bible supposed to be global? Because right, the Holy Quran, according to Muslims, and I'm happy I have you here to fact check me.
Yeah, sure.
Because the Holy Quran, what we believe as Muslims, is supposed to be the final book, and it's a book for all of humanity, not just
Universal,
a specific region.
Right.
So when Bible was originally sent down, was it sent down for a specific group of people, or was it supposed to be global?
Perfect. So there's various examples I can give you, but basically in a nutshell, the way we believe it is that when Adam came,
Mm-hmm.
Adam was the very first prophet in this line of prophethood. But when he came to a people who lived in a cave, for example. They were hunter-gatherers. They didn't have the concept of community. They lived more like the way, wild dogs do, where they're kind of, having, relations with various other people with no regard. So there were 3 commandments that Adam was given, according to the Holy Quran. He was given the commandment that you should wear clothing, have a sense of shame and, that kind of honor. Number 2, institute marriage, which if you look back in history, we don't even know when marriage started. But according to Islam, it started at the time of Adam. And the third was to leave the caves and live in a community, meaning assign work. You do X, Y, and Z, and I'll do X, Y, and Z, and I'll do X, Y, and Z. And the reason I give you this background is because according to Islam is that each one of these prophets was just building up, as humans got smarter, the more commandments came from God. As we became more civilized, the more God gave us more civilized commands and guided us more, right? And so Adam, and it keeps going. Then we get Noah, then you got Abraham, then you got Moses, then you have Jesus. And each one of them, when they came, for example, Moses, we all know that he went to Pharaoh and he said, "Let my people go." Very famous quote.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say, "Let the whole world go." He didn't say, "Pharaoh, come with me." It was a very clear distinction that Pharaoh, you and your people stay here. I'm going to take my people. That means his message was for a specific people. Similarly with Jesus, look at his example. He kept saying, "I'm here for the Jews. I'm not here for the Romans. Forget them." In fact, he went to the extent he said, "I have not come but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." What does that mean? The house of Israel means the 12 tribes of the Jews, 10 of which had moved because of Nebuchadnezzar, and there was some destruction prior to Jesus coming. They had scattered. Nobody knows where they are even till this day. They're unknown. Mormons believe they came to America. Others believe they went to India. There's variations there, but they're still unknown till this day. There are only 2 tribes that stayed in Palestine. That was Judah and Benjamin. And these were the 2 tribes that Jesus spoke to initially. And when he was speaking to them, we know what they did. They put him on the cross, right? They doubted his prophethood. They didn't agree with his message. And so there Jesus responded basically saying, "I'm not here for you. I have not come but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And many times he said, "Don't go into the Gentiles. Don't throw, stones or, like basically jewels in front of the swine." He referred to anybody who was a Israelite was basically to him a Gentile or a swine. That means that anybody who's currently a Christian, majority of them, are not in the category that Jesus himself spoke about. Do you get my sense? So
Right.
Every time he preached, he always said, "Preach to only the Jews, don't go outside of that." That was a consistent theme in Jesus' words.
Interesting.
And then how did it proliferate from there?
Good. So then we have, after Jesus again went on the crucifixion, then he was no longer there. He appointed Peter as his successor. And when Peter started to build up his community again, it was only just a handful of people. Paul came, who was a Roman, and said that I saw Jesus in a dream. And as a result of this dream, I'm also a disciple. And then he said, "I believe everything Jesus said to you is wrong. Let's do what the version of Christianity I know." And so it was through Paul that Christianity grew and expanded to whatever version it has today, until, again, many, many years later, the Roman Empire eventually embraced it. But a lot of the new ideas, for example, not having circumcision, or being okay to eat certain things, or not looking at the Old Testament, all of that was from Paul. Peter never subscribed to any of that. Just to give you an example, this is all historical stuff. It's not a Muslim perspective. There's a historical perspective. This is really what happened. So.